Welcome back to another podcast with your host, Miriam Khan. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Today's podcast is about being in alignment with your true, authentic self. So let's have a look at this, what we mean. For all of us, this is going to be quite different, quite complex, and also it depends on your outlook, your viewpoint, your spirituality, your religious perspective, I guess. Also depends on your cultural background and also, I guess, your widely knowledge as well. So as and when we are growing up, we go through different sort of milestones in our life and we go through different phases of our life. And from a very early age, obviously, there's quite a lot of aspects that ground us, that make us, that mold us. We have our family, we have our culture, we have our faith, we have our environment, we have nature versus nurture. We have a lot of contributing factors that push us into sort of like molding us and making us who we are. And we are always discovering, new aspects of ourselves, new shadow parts of ourselves. We're discovering parts of our personality and our character that we really either like or we dislike. And as we're growing up, from a young age, toddler age, into sort of like, being 5, 6 and older, our friendships change, our circles of friendship move. And, some of our parents, some of our background influences, the culture, maybe the people around us will have an influence on that. Sometimes experience is the best teachers, we all know. Sometimes we realise that friendship within that little circle, no matter how young we are, isn't the right one for us. And we evolve, we grow, we move forward, we change depending on what's going on. As we're getting into sort of like teens and adulthood sort of stage, that continues, And again, we're facing the same sort of situation, the same scenario, only now, hopefully, we're at a wiser stage where we're still sort of working out who we are, who we are, who we want to be, who we want to aspire to be, what our career choice might be, what we want to believe, what our actions are, what our political sort of affirmations are. We might also have viewpoints on the world and what we think, and this is where sometimes these things will clash with the people around us. And again, we evolve, we change, we move on from our circles, we maybe, distance ourselves from certain people. Maybe we are closer to others as well that have the similar beliefs as us. And that's all part of life, This is all part of the milestones of adulthood and growing up and being into the person, molding the person who you are. But there are also times as you get later on, into adulthood, there are going to be times when your authentic self, your true authentic self is sort of tested, okay? And this can happen on many, many different levels. So there are times when certain political beliefs that you have, you've researched things perhaps, or perhaps you might be somebody that has naively perhaps believed something in the press and in the news. Maybe you're someone that actually looks at different aspects of the news. So you're not necessarily following propaganda, you're following different outcomes, different viewpoints. You're researching your theories. You're not just necessarily believing one biased opinion. You're becoming more alert, you're becoming more aware, you're becoming more ingrained with truth, rather than following bias and rather than following propaganda. This happens as well on a work basis. It happens with environment. It happens with nature. It happens with the people around us, and this is where when we are molding ourselves into the person we want to be, there are times when we have to shred layers that no longer fit into that cycle, fit into that pattern, And the more you work on those aspects, the more you are becoming in tune with your true authentic self. And that sometimes is very, very hard because, certain people will sense that about you, that you have integrity, that you have morals, that you have standards, that you have, a goalpost, you have certain leverage. And there are certain things that you won't be swayed upon. you know. So, for example, there are people out there who are very good manipulators, very good liars. Don't get me wrong, we all tell little white lies from now and again for certain scenarios, certain situations, but we're not actually doing anything bad. We're not somebody that lies for a living, we're not someone that's manipulating others and taking advantage. There are times when, yes, we have to tell little white lies, for example. That doesn't take away your authenticity. It doesn't take away who you are as a soul and as a human being. You're still staying true to you. It's just that maybe for protection, you're having to do what you're having to do. Okay? But staying in line and staying true to your authentic self sometimes will be tested. The more that you are humble, the more that you are within your own being, the more that you are honest, That's so hard in the world now, especially in 2021. It's so hard to be an upfront, honest, direct person. You will have people in your circles, in your connections, sometimes attacking that, testing it, sort of belittling it, calling you fake, calling you unreliable, calling you many, many things. And a lot of the time, it's not about you. They're attacking the part of them that's not safe within that particular aspect and that particular zone. Our own being will take lots of time to get to the true authentic self. Like an onion, you have to keep taking off layers at a time. And sometimes those layers are shred, sometimes those layers are rebuilt again, and sometimes those layers thicken, Nowadays in 2021, it is very hard to find someone who's authentic and true and, calls a spade a spade. And when they are following anything in their life, they're following it in the right way. They're not necessarily swayed. They're not necessarily manipulated. They're not going to be someone who is won over by money. They're not bribed. They stay true, and they stay humble. That's another attribute that not many people can display, again, in 2021. Lots of things have happened in our world. Lots of factors have happened in our world. And often it's not easy to stay humble, okay? Especially in a world where sometimes some things are very materialistic. One of the other things that people find very hard to do and stay authentic and true to themselves is empathy and sympathy. These seem to be in some ways displayed and in some ways forgotten. Many individuals are forgetting what it's like to sympathize or empathize with another human being going through a tough time, going through very hardships and going through very, very difficult times. And sometimes we attack that person, we judge that person, we are mean to that person, we don't offer love and support as we should do, and that also can sort of like shatter our friendship, shatter the illusions, There are times when people are doing things in silence, for other human beings, out of the goodness of the soul, whether it means giving charity, whether it means visiting them in hospital, whether it means just even giving some time to allow that person to air their pains, or they're a big, big, big supportive network to that individual. And all of a sudden, it can come crashing down. For whatever reason, it could be that the individual doesn't want you in their life anymore. They're not coping with something. But the fact is, you have to remember, when you supported that individual or helped them or cared for them, you came from a place of love. You came from a place of guidance and care and empathy and sympathy. And if the person now is, winging that back and sending it back to you, that's up to them. If they want to show toxicity, that's up to them. You came from a place of love and care and guidance, and that's what you have to remember, And that's where you stay true within your authentic self. There are so many people out there right now trying to keep reciprocating, trying to model themselves on celebrities, trying to imitate celebrities. There's this whole thing about people doing the whole plastic surgery thing. I've discussed this before. This is my own personal opinion. There are days when There are some individuals with certain cases, yes, where plastic surgery is needed. And then, for medical reasons, then there are some that have just gone all to the other side, and they've got this body dysmorphia. They've forgotten who they are. They don't know who they are. They keep trying to be someone else whilst not working on themselves, and the plastic surgery is almost like an illusion because they are not looking at true self. They're not looking at themselves. They're not happy within themselves. They're not worked on themselves. They haven't done that self-love. So how can you have true, authentic self when you've not worked on self-love? And we've discussed this before in different podcasts where I've said many, many times, self-love is the hardest thing that some of us can go through. And until we work on that, until we really, really love every part of us, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, as I call it, until you work on all those shadow aspects of yourself, and it's not necessarily coming from an egotistical point of view, it's coming from a self-love point of view. And until you work through all of that, you're not going to be able to be your true, authentic self. Some things will always test you. Friendships, for example, will always test you. Relationships will always test you. There are things that other people will not necessarily understand. They will see you maybe as a threat. They'll see you as someone too caring, too kind, too egotistical. Maybe you scare them because you're someone that goes out and does goals. You go and achieve it. You're ambitious, for example. And some people find that very, very intimidating and very scary. And that is where they also come to attack you as well, because they can't be you. They don't have the attributes that you have. They wish they did, but they don't, And people don't understand that these attributes don't come necessarily easily. These are self-taught. We've had to teach ourselves to be able to be ambitious. We've taught ourselves to push ourselves, For example, if you're going to go and climb a mountain, it needs training. You have to have goals. You have to have agility. You have to have motivation. You have to be focused. You have to have that target and keep pushing yourself forward. No one's going to do it for you, Of course you need the training. Of course you need the skills. You need the boundaries. But at the same time, you have to be that person that pushes yourself to be able to keep climbing that mountain, no matter how challenging, no matter how hard, and no matter how difficult it gets. And that's coming back to perseverance as well. When you're an authentic, true self, you have to persevere through life. You will have people, like I said, coming at you, different angles, attacking you, attacking your aura, attacking your personality, And sometimes there is negativity, but there's also positivity too, that you'll have some genuine, very, very genuine people in your life. There might be a small number of them though, There might be a small number of people. Maybe you can count them on your hand. Maybe there's 4 or 5 people and that's it. And that's more than enough. More than enough. Because it's better to have people in your circle that are honest, that are true, that are loyal, that have got your back, Even if you've not spoken for a long period of time, doesn't matter. You can get on the phone or whichever contact or see them face to face, and they will accept you for who you are. No matter how much time has lapsed, no matter where they've been, no matter what's happened in their own life, you can just pick up where you've left off. That is also someone embracing your true, authentic self. And that is beautiful in itself, But look back and think to yourself, which particular aspect am I in? You will always, always have certain people looking at you and looking at yourself and looking at how you live your life, You have to be accountable to yourself at the end of the day. If there's parts of you, for example, maybe you've got too much of an ego, maybe you've got too much of a drive, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how are you using it? We can look at 2021, we can look at a lot of political leaders around us, and we can look at people in the press and in the media, and we can look at how they perhaps haven't stayed true to their authentic self. Perhaps they've been manipulated, perhaps they've presented themselves in a particular way, and then as soon as they've got the position of power, we're seeing the real side of them. And some of it is goal focused, some of it is politically focused, something is, situations change. Life changes, of course it does. So these things can change who we think that person is, but that reflects on us too. We're always evolving, we're always going through a metamorphosis, we're always changing. If we want to evolve, if we want to be better, if we want to be a better person, and that's the whole beauty of growing up, that's the whole beauty of life. It's about mastering all those different aspects of us and our different skills. Some of us are brilliant at that, some of us are not. And it's a matter of working out which one are we, which one are us. Are we the person that will evolve and grow and change for the better? Or do we stay where we are? Do we stay in that rut? Do we mould? Do we sort of transform into what other people expect us to be? That's the whole beauty of, the authentic self. You're constantly shredding layers. You're constantly learning, hopefully, for the better. And learning that this is not who I want to be. Actually, this is how I want to be. And that's the thing. That self-reflection is something that is very much needed. You can look back and realise, this is something I want to be. This is something I want to grow from. This is something I want to grow into. And that's where we have that self-realisation and wake up. And we should do that. We should have time. It's not necessarily meditation to some, it's self-reflection to others. But we should sit back, we should reflect, and we should look at that. And at the end of the day, as long as you've been a kind individual, someone that's shown morals, someone that's shown love and compassion and empathy and sympathy, someone that has respect, somebody that, there's qualities can go on, can't they? For each of us, that will be different. But the main thing is looking within, and looking at yourself and looking at which aspects of myself do I need to grow more and which do I need to silence, and then mastering how to balance all of those within so that you keep being this beautiful, authentic person. I'm sure all of us will have been through these different milestones, and it doesn't matter what age you are at, you still go through it, You keep changing, you keep evolving, and that's the beauty. There's no set, there's no set milestone, because for all of us, this is different, right? So wherever you are in your particular journey, keep reflecting, keep meditating, keep looking at yourself, keep working on those aspects that perhaps need to go. Keep strengthening the aspects that need to be better. After all, that's where we grow into better human beings. Wherever you are on your particular journey on finding your authentic self, keep at it, keep working, keep going forward, but keep learning, keep changing, but change for the better. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Take care. Good luck with finding yourself. This has been Miriam Khan at Raise Your Vibes.